Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachak Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Genesis, the 9th chapter. And as we went through in the 8th chapter, right, we saw the subsiding of the flood and the ark resting, and finally Noah and his family being able to leave the ark. And so this is Genesis 9:1. And God blessed Noah and his sons and said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth, which means that he basically blessed them and just told them, to populate, right? Because it's really just them. So now they have to repopulate the earth. And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, which is why animals fear man, and upon every fowl of the air, and upon all that moveth upon the earth, and upon all the fishes of the sea. Into your hand are they delivered, meaning that man would have dominion, all right, over all the other creatures. And that's the actual spirit the Lord put on the earth. Now, throughout the course of history, as the courses of nature have been messed with over time. Now you got to be careful, right? Because that same fear, or that same level of fear that these animals had for man, is different now. Now you jump in a zoo with a lion, it's going to run towards you, and you're cooked at that point. So you don't want to play that game. But you can still see this, right? When certain animals, if a squirrel sees you, like, you wonder why doves, squirrels, cats, like whenever they see people, they're wary, right? And they're quick to run away. Even deer. Every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you. And so you can see here that now, as opposed to being just herbivores, right? The Lord commissioned us to be now omnivores. So we eat both, greens and the herbs, but also meat. So every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you. Now, this goes without saying that there's still a difference, right? The things that are clean, that is, not the unclean animals. This is not justification to eat unclean animals. And Noah knew and understood what the Lord meant by this, right? If you could sacrifice it to the Lord, right, which were like the clean animals as the Lord required, then you were able to eat it. So they understood what the Lord meant by every moving thing that liveth. They weren't going around eating unclean things. Even as the herb, or as a green herb, have I given you all things. Because that was the first thing the Lord gave us permission to consume, right? Every fruit of the tree and herb of the field. And even with that, right, same logic applies. Of the herbs, or of the fruits of the trees and plants, they're poisonous plants. Like, even, for example, when you deal with mushrooms. So when the Lord said he's given us every, right, when you go back to the beginning of the book of Genesis, when he says he has given us every, green thing, so to speak, does that include the poisonous things? Would man go and eat poisonous mushrooms? All right. Or certain poisonous fruits that could have a negative effect on you? No. So even though it says every, common sense, right, it directs you to know, okay, it's every edible or clean thing that you can eat. But flesh with the life thereof, which is the blood thereof, which goes to show you that the life is in the blood. So any meat or animal that has blood in it shall ye not eat. It does not mean that, oh, well, chickens have blood in them, so you can't eat chickens. No, it means you can't eat it with the blood in it. So that's why when you say, if you kill a chicken, you're supposed to drain the blood out of it into the earth, into the ground, and then you clean it up, prepare it, and then you can eat it. So you're not supposed to be eating your steaks bloody either. And surely your blood of your lives will I require. And this goes to show you that they had the laws back then as well, because this is basically going into the law of murder, right? And specifically of human life. So as the Lord says, surely your blood of your lives will I require. At the hand of every beast will I require it. So if you were slain by an animal, the Lord would require it at that animal's head, and at the hand of man, and at the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of man. So the life of man was precious, in that if you took a life, okay, in like a, in an unjustified way. What I mean by that is, for example, you have war, which is different, right? You have accidents, which are different, and then you have judgments, which are different. If somebody commits a sin worthy unto death, right, they are put to death. But when they're put to death, that doesn't fall under this, right? The Lord doesn't require the blood of, say, a criminal that the Lord has said, put this person to death, and then the people put him to death. The Lord is not going to require that person's blood at their hands. All right. So you have certain circumstances, right, where this is not applying to. In the NLT, it says, and I will require the blood of anyone who takes another person's life. If a wild animal kills a person, it must die. And anyone who murders a fellow human must die. See that? And that's a law on life, on murder. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of God made he man, right? Meaning, when you look at and we went through this, I think in Genesis 1 or 2, the way the Lord created man, even just in general, is different, right? And superior than all the other beasts, which makes us closer to how the Lord is, right? In terms of like how he created us with the senses and the mind and the ability to think and speak and all of those things. So that's why man's life is at the highest priority compared to all the other creations. And you, be ye fruitful and multiply, bring forth abundantly in the earth and multiply therein. So don't hold back. Okay, pop them babies out like parking tickets. That's a joke. But that's what it means to be fruitful and multiply, right? To lay down and have babies. And God spake unto Noah and to his sons with him, saying, and I, behold, I establish my covenant with you and with your seed after you. And this covenant that the Lord was establishing is dealing with the rainbow, right? Well, let me not even say that. The rainbow was a sign of this covenant. But the covenant, as we're about to read, is that the Lord wouldn't destroy the earth again in the same manner he did during the time of Noah with the flood. It says, and with every living creature that is with you, of the fowl, of the cattle, and of every beast of the earth with you, from all that go out of the ark, to every beast of the earth. So this was a covenant the Lord made pretty much with life on earth, like living creatures. And I will establish my covenant with you. Neither shall all flesh be cut off any more to die by the waters of a flood, like the Lord had just done. Neither shall there any more be a flood to destroy the earth. So he wouldn't do this again. And God said, this is the token of the covenant which I will make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for perpetual generations. So a token is a sign, right? This is the proof to show that the covenant that I'm making with you. And as it says, for perpetual generation. So not just your generation, but all those that would come after you as well. I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth. This bow is referring to the rainbow. That's why it's called a rainbow, right? And you see the different colors, right, all in the air like that. This is why this is why you see that, and this is why you see it after it rains. And it shall come to pass when I bring a cloud over the earth, i.e. rain, that the bow shall be seen in the cloud. And that's why you see rainbows in the skies after it rains. Now, sometimes it's not always, but hey, maybe it is, but just in a different location where you don't see it. but I'm sure we've all seen a rainbow or two in our life. And I will remember my covenant, which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh. And the waters shall no more be a flood to destroy all flesh. So no matter how bad it rains, and no matter how crazy the water gets, it will never be as it was during the time of the flood or the time of Noah when the Lord flooded the earth. And the rainbow is there to be a sign of that. And the bowl shall be in the cloud, and I will look upon it, that I may remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is upon the earth. So whenever you see the rainbow, if you didn't know before, now you know what it's there for. And God said unto Noah, this is the token of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is upon the earth. So the rainbow in itself is also proof of the flood. And the sons of Noah that went forth of the ark were Shem and Ham and Japheth. And Ham is the father of Canaan. These are the three sons of Noah, and of them was the whole earth overspread. And it's not by coincidence that they listed them in this order. I believe Shem was actually the oldest, Noah's first son, and then Ham, and then Japheth being the youngest. As it says, these are the three sons of Noah, and of them was the whole earth overspread. So the whole earth was populated again from these three. Okay. And Noah began to be an husbandman, and he planted a vineyard. So now they're off the ark. Now, they're on land. And so as time goes on, as it says, Noah began to be an husbandman, right? So he started to farm, right? And he planted a vineyard, and he drank of the wine. So come harvest time, he plucked the grapes and then made the wine, and it was really nice. And so he drank, right? He drank of the wine and was drunken. He was happy. He was merry. The Lord had saved his life after all. And he was uncovered in his tent. So in their dwelling place, right, he was drunk, and he probably passed out, with just uncovered, as it says, right? And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told it his two brethren without. And let's also read this. Yeah, okay, so the ESV, as it says, outside. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw that his father was naked and went outside and told his brothers. Now, it doesn't say it explicitly here, right? But you can tell that what Ham did here, and this is the reason why Noah cursed Ham through his descendant, right, his son Canaan, was because it would seem that what Ham did here, let's say even if it was accidental, he likely made sport or light of it, right? And so when he went to tell his brothers or his brethren, it probably wasn't in the spirit of oh shoot, yo, let's get something to cover him up or something like that, but more so yo, oh shit, yo, pops is naked or some shit like that, right? And Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it upon both their shoulders and went backward and covered the nakedness of their father, and their faces were backward. So now, they could have, one been on one side and then the other person is on the other side, and they got the garment holding it, and then they could have actually walked backward, okay? Or as it says, when it says their face were backward, they could have been walking forward, but with their heads turned, so they wouldn't see what's in front of them, okay? But being close enough, you can throw the garment, enough to where you're sure, okay, he's covered up. And they saw not their father's nakedness. And Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his younger son had done unto him. So this, and you see, had done unto him. So if Ham had good intentions, if this was just an accident, right? Why would why would it be worded this way, as though Ham had done something onto him, right? So when he saw his father in that state, he made light of it, right? And that's why he went and told his brothers about it. It's not like, oh shit, oh, nah. And so when Noah woke up, when it says he knew it, doesn't mean that he just had like telepathy, but they told him. And once he was aware of what had happened and what Ham had done, and he said, "Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren." Okay, so he cursed the son of Ham. And as it says, and is the spirit why the Lord had him do that. Okay, but as it says, a servant of servants. So he would basically be, if you were to put it in modern terms, a slave of slaves. Okay, like the lowest of the lowest, to where like he would be almost like a servant to servants. All right, that's just to say that he would be in a low state of all his brethren. He would be the least of them, serving the rest. And he said, "Blessed be the Lord Yahweh, God of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant." And this is why in the future, right, which ultimately in the future we know all the nations are going to serve the Israelites, but who come from Shem. But Canaan being his servant, meaning the descendants of Canaan, i.e. the Canaanites, would be under or serve the descendants of Shem, mainly or in particular the Israelites. Okay, and this is also why the Lord, it was no problem for the Lord to give us that land, right? Because remember, Canaan originally was dwelling in the land of Canaan. That's why it was called the land of Canaan when the Lord told Abraham to go there. But the Lord took that from them and gave that to us. So in any case, as it says, Canaan shall be his servant. So they would serve us, or they would be under us. God shall enlarge Japheth, and he shall dwell in the tents of Shem. And this is why also, when you look at the regions, this is in the ancient time, that is, where Japheth dwelt. They had really a lot of mass, land mass, right? They had like a huge population, you could say, from Asia Minor all the way into Greece and even those islands over there in the Mediterranean and so on. It says here, "And he shall dwell in the tents of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant." Okay, and meaning that he would, let me see, I think I kind of like the way it was worded here. NIV, right? It says, may God extend Japheth's territory. As it says, may Japheth live in the tents of Shem. Here in the NLT, it says, may Japheth share the prosperity of Shem, which is pretty much like a blessing, right? Like, may they both be blessed. But we know that even though Canaan would be, the least of them all, Japheth wouldn't be blessed on the same level as Shem, but they would also be blessed above Canaan. Okay, so technically in that they would share the prosperity of Shem, but they wouldn't be on the same level in terms of that blessing. As it says, and Canaan shall be his servant. And that's why also when you go into the future, eventually you had the descendants of Japheth rule over those of Canaan. Okay, when you go, like, one example is when you even deal with the Medes, okay, which come from Japheth. At one point, they also had dominion over a good portion of the known world, even in areas where you would also have some Canaanites dwelling, and likewise with Shem, right? You had descendants of Shem that ruled over them. Verse 28, and Noah lived after the flood 350 years. And all the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. So Noah lived a very long time as well. And that brings us to the end of the book of Genesis, the 9th chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha Kodash. Until next time, Shalom.